The biggest thing I think, the biggest takeaway from a lot of these dungeons is they were very one-shot heavy, but like the trash, the style that they implemented for trash was normally pretty good. It was not in Blackrook Hold though. It was very fucking bad in Blackrook Hold. Blackrook Hold actually is just a banned dungeon. Vault of the Wardens was terrible because of its design. Blackrook Hold is terrible because of everything. Legion was mainly one-shot heavy due to gear swapping, and power level of characters was insane, so you could push key levels where everything one-shot. Yes. The power creep for this expansion was fucking silly. EOA's trash is really good. EOA makes that, like, the trash in that dungeon makes EOA fun. The one-shots probably could have gone. Alright. So, the sauce is 100% of the time when you're skipping every single mob here, none of these mobs are playable, and you get more than enough count in the remainder of the dungeon. You get infinite count in the back half of the dungeon. These mobs are not playable. There's no reason to pull them. Sometimes the trash gets pulled. And you say, fucking healer. Yeah, don't bring them to us, yes. Alright. So now we got this boss. Amalgam of Souls. So this guy... Okay, the theme for the theme for these bosses too, again, is the theme for the whole entire expansion. I got one shot by that shit. This sucks. So you... I hope my dot doesn't kill this guy. So you would kill all these souls, right? If any of these souls touch the boss, basically you just die. There's no living. So you kill every single one of these souls. They all have to die. Right? And then after a certain period of time, this boss blows up, and you may still die. You had to pull up your Just Heal Us Pot M... What was a fucking Pot M's Mythic Plus fucking healing calculator, DR calculator, and check your DR. And then you would live. Maybe. What's my stats? I don't know. Look. These are my stats. And so then you sit here, and you wait for the door to open. And you're just sitting here. You're standing here, and you're jumping. You say, please open. You like root one, banish one. Now you hardly get summoned back. That's facts. That's actual facts. You would play full single target talents for that boss. And then you would hearth out and get summoned back with an AoE spec. Yeah, exactly. I forgot about that. That's actually really fucking funny that you brought that up. I haven't thought about that in a while. Then you run through here. You're sprinting. And your tank hits that sky step while you're running behind. And he's grabbing all these mobs. He hits that fat sky step. He's grabbing everything. Tags all the mobs. All the spiders must come. We need them for count. Every spider must come. Grabs this big bitch. Sometimes you would pull up to the top of the stairs. Sometimes not. I think by the end of the expansion, we were pulling up to the top of the stairs the whole entire time, and we would just fight everything here. Oh god. All the small spiders, like just happened there, would get insta-killed by your Windwalker monk. And then you would pull this big spider into these two mobs. I don't know what you would be focusing here. I don't remember anymore. I think you focus this champion. I think this champion has just like infinitely more HP than anything else. And he puts a battle, and he puts a, yep. He puts his rallying cry on everything. You would always just focus this guy down. Then you'd kill all these mobs eventually. And so, the real sauce for that guy is that you could silence him. Did the little guys bolster? Yes. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. All neutral mobs. Every mob bolstered this expansion. Every mob bolstered. Alright, so the real sauce of this guy is that whenever he does his rally, his whatever his fucking 50% health increase thing, you could actually delay it with Solar Beam and Arcane Torrent. So Solar Beam is obviously a silence. Arcane Torrent at the time was also a silence. So you could sit here after this bone-breaking strike, you would just make sure that he's in a Solar Beam. Did they fix it? Okay, so he used to not do it while he was silenced. I guess perhaps they fixed this 3 expansions later, but you used to silence him where he wouldn't rally. Guess maybe that's just fake news now. All right. And so now we got an absolutely awful pull. An iconic pull, but an awful pull nonetheless. So this Risen Companion, you can't do this pull like this. This pull is not doable. Oh yeah, true. The MDI Spellsteal tech that nobody did on live. Nobody played Arcane on live. You played Fire in this dungeon, you would... Sometimes you would, like, do it. More often than not that you wouldn't. Alright, so the sauce for this is either your DK controls this cat, which is, I think, what happened most of the time, or you would root the cat, which is what happened the other little bit at the time. And then you would pull this pack. You would pull this pack with everything. That's what the issue was. So you would do 3 archers, right? 3 archers in this minion. And so this is why this dungeon was literally not playable by melee. So your tank would grab all these mobs, and then he'd run them back to like here. He would like line everything in, right? He would eat this minion leap. The minion leaps on the nearest target, and so he'd eat the minion leap. He would have to control the cat. I think that you had to control the cat by the end of it, and so you would line everything in, and then these archers had a 40-yard range on their shot, but their shot was actually just... It would just one-shot you. Or it actually wouldn't one-shot you, but it would two-shot pretty much everybody. And so melee were just banned from this dungeon. Pretty much. Or you would tank it on this line right here. You take it on this corner, and they would have to line every single shot that was on them. Which, I mean, it did happen. That's how you had to get that's what you had to do to get a Windwalker in this dungeon, is you just have to line everything. Or your Moonkin would help you soak them, because Moonkin didn't take any fucking damage from those. Because that was when Moonkin armor was like 200%. And then this Arcanist, I don't know why Arcane Blitz says damage done increased by 0%. This mob was OP for mages, and you do Spellsteal attack sometimes. You would just like Spellsteal off stacks, and then your DK would MC him, and then you would like sit down and drink as a mage, and then you would Spellsteal again. Oh, another double archer pull. That's what we love. And so now you would tank these mobs on this. You would tank these mobs on this corner, and you would line them. 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 And then eventually the mobs would accidentally run across the line, and then you would not be able to hit anything. You would say, yo, don't do that. Targeting your tank. You're gonna be so good at Legion Time Walking now? Nobody's gonna do this in Legion Time Walking. This pack again. Another double archer pull. God, I forgot how bad these were. Another double archer pull. You would stand way back here and outrange their shots once more. And again, your melee would die. Literally unplayable for melee. Like... Legion Time Walking is never happened. So where does melee live? Not in this dungeon. In a different dungeon. In a different dungeon. All run leaderboards. Previous season. Legion. Season 732. Where? This is correct. All dungeons. Blackrook Hold. Okay, so they did play one melee in these dungeons, but like they were getting bops and actually just like standing out. What the fuck, Nagura? Number 12? What the hell, Nagura? I don't. Where am I? I'm not gonna be on this dungeon, but well, maybe I'll be in this dungeon if I go far enough down. I think I'll be somewhere on one of these. I got a court stars. I had rank 1 court stars for a while. We're very good at court. Look, there's me. This was, I think, rank 1 whenever we got it. I was 47th in Blackrook. God, I'm so good. Yeah, it's been a fucking hot minute. Are we looking at Legion Dungeon stuff? They're bringing them back? Hopefully. You're red in the tank roll? Yeah. You're red in the tank roll for sure. Alright. This boss didn't one-shot you. But this boss had, like... Yeah, okay, so it had a bleed from a glaive, and then the most... I think an unfair dash, I think, is a great way of describing this. So this glaive... It was just a physical damage dot. This dot was awful. And then you had this dark rush that you had to, like, triangle up in a very specific way. Because it targeted 3 people. And if you weren't triangled up in a very specific way, it would double tick you with the dash, and you would just die. This boss felt very unfair. Because you would die to things that you didn't mean to. And so now you have the intermission, and this is all you always master with this guy. This guy never comes in. You focus this guy down. This guy dies first. And then once the Arcanist dies, now you focus down the Vanguard and you let him come out of the mass route. All the while Illysanna is cleavable. You could actually hit this boss. In Shadowlands dungeons, this boss would not be targetable. This boss would probably go immune. But at the time, this boss was targetable. This was always targetable. And then you'd sprint through here. And this is the best part of the dungeon. We're about to get to the best part of the dungeon. Actually, the only good part of the dungeon. I'm not talking about the rocks. God, it would have been if I got hit by the rock right there. Alright, you hit the Sky Step Potion again, right? I would like to tag these guys. Get every single Trickster. You don't miss any of those. God, they are impossible to pull. Okay, I now understand why we MD'd them. Or you would tag them with something else. Range would tag those. Back ones. And you would pull all the way to the end of the hallway. All the way to the end. Okay, you would not do this on Bolstering Week. All the way to the end of the hallway. And then you'd sit here. And you'd kill all these mobs in this end. And then you'd try to focus on the Tricksters from what I remember. Oh, it was the Scavengers. You'd try to focus down the Scavengers because they had this Frenzy Potion cast. Or was it the Tricksters that did the Fire Breath? I don't remember. One of them did the Fire Breath. And the Fire Breath was really bad because most of the push weeks in Legion were like Sanguine weeks. And so... Like, hold on, I'll show you this. Like, most of the push weeks in Legion were Sanguine weeks for whatever reason. I guess also bursting. They were either bursting or sanguine, is what all the weeks were. But yeah, you really want to focus on the tricks just because of that. Sanguine was way smaller back then. But yeah, sanguine healed insta. It was awful. Instead of having an arm time, sanguine would heal insta. So I prefer today's sanguine. And now here's where somebody inevitably always dies. And you have to res. And now you do this Dominator. You pull the Dominator back, right? With these double Tricksters. So you don't get the infinite bats. Because this Dominator does a Fell Frenzy cast and he buffs himself up. But you don't want all these bats yet. So you have to pull the Dominator back. There were no seasonal fixes back then. No, no, no. They didn't add seasonal fixes until BFA. And so then after that first Dominator dies, now you're running all the way up. And all the way up. Most of the time you'd stop at this landing, actually. You'd stop at this landing, murder these two Dominators, kill off all these bats. but the whole entire time bats are spawning on top of you. This was like not great. It was actually not a great part of this dungeon. Like a Mythic plus Historian? Yeah. And now you would run in here. You would pull all of the Dominators through because that would stop the bat spawn. So you would pull everything through here. You would pull it through as soon as you possibly could. Sometimes you would be able to get the landing all the way through. Sometimes you'd have to stop. These stairs were fun on Necrotic. Yes. These stairs were epic on Necrotic. We love our tanks getting infinite stacks of Necrotic. Then you'd pull through and you kill. Oh god, I forgot about this guy. Another one-shot boss. So this makes all these bosses in this dungeon one-shot you with something. This guy did a Hateful Slam. Okay, so the Hateful Gaze. This wasn't that bad. I mean, it did a lot of damage, but that wasn't the dangerous part. The dangerous part was definitely the second half of that AoE. That AoE was what killed you. The Hateful Gaze would have to be rotated between 3 or 4 different people, and it could parry. You'd ideally like to have a rogue that would do it, but you realistically can't take 2 in a row. I think your DK tank could take 2 in a row, but you really didn't want him to. And so yeah. And then you would also get these bats. They put this line on you, and then they clog up the room with this green shit. And so by the end of the fight, the room would be full of green stuff. Your whole entire party would have this debuff on him, except for probably like any clothies you brought. If you brought a warlock or something, they really couldn't eat it. You could take 2 as a demon hunter with Brandon spikes, no problem. I mean, I remember evade would dodge every single one. I remember Krennics would take 2 in a row as well. Yeah, this boss spawned infinite puddles, right? And then you get like the gaze while the puddles are coming out, and that's like super sus. And then you get knocked, and then you would inevitably have like 1 or 2 deaths on this boss, but it was always kind of fine. Because prior to this point, you're not actually blowing your battle reses on anything. Maybe you lose 1 person to the bleed on Illysanna, the second boss. But like in reality, if you're going to have a problem on the second boss, you're gonna like full wipe the dungeon. So it didn't really matter. The boss didn't ever actually do the charge with the Brewmaster Monk. Yeah, Brewmaster Monk would eat every single one. Alright, so from here, you would pull all of these trash together. Yeah, I don't know why those 2 guys didn't pull, but you would pull all 6 of these mobs together up here, and you'd have to dodge the lances, and you would dodge them up the stairs. Would you do all of this? I don't think you do this too, guys. I'm pretty sure you just did the 6. I'm pretty sure this was too many. I mean, I played with Jason some. Jason played Brewmaster Monk then, but it was mostly DK, yeah. And then you would pull those 2 guys at the top of the landing all the way up here. We talked about gear swap some, yeah. You would always be swapping gear. And now is where you're putting on your Titan Guard as a DPS. Your big ass tank trinket, which is basically like, I don't know, what is the equivalent of it? If you got 100,000 health shield, yeah, if you got 100,000 health shield, and yeah, it was just a channel. That's what Titan Guard was basically. All right, and so now we have the last boss, Ravencrest. And so this is just phase 1. You fight this guy. Nothing really happens. You just dodge, and then this whirling blade comes out. Hopefully you don't have to blow a battle res on the whirling blade. This guy needs to die before he stacks up too many of these bleeds on your tank because they don't reset. But that's basically the issue with that. This guy gets killed pretty quickly. He wasn't too bad. And then once he dies, you need like an immune or a like massive DR like Titan Guard or whatever. Like I was talking about, Fell Shield Emitter was also good because whenever this guy spawns, Dantalionax, he does this fucking AoE. When does he do it? Okay, here's his first Shadow Bolt volley. Okay, so he does his first Shadow Bolt volley there, right? And then you get buffed with this thing that increases your maximum HP by 300%. But that first Shadow Bolt volley is omega sus. Oh my god, I have a fucking... I can't kill this thing off of me. And then you would get these those bugs. Those bugs on you. And those bugs are the massive priority. You would just like hit the bugs the whole entire time. And you would leave down the last boss. And now you have the intermission phase where you run around. Don't get stuck in that circle. That circle disorients you. Kind of thing. Kind of chill. I mean, this fight's like really not that bad once you were able to... If you were able to live that first Shadow Bolt volley, the rest of the boss is kind of home free. You could get overridden with too many of these stinging swarm bugs, but that's only if you had like 4 people. But this boss was like... I mean, okay, so 3 out of the 4 bosses you could get 1 shot. The 4th boss was just not a good fight. Oh yeah, if you got quaked and bugged at the same time, true. Because that was when quaking did damage to you regardless. That was bad. And it did a lot too. It actually got nerfed coming into BFA.